Greetings, beloveds. It's Ani Cafe. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, The Violet Flame Intuitive. Today we're diving into the fascinating origins of the Lenormand card reading system and where it sits in the wider historical context of divination. The video is entitled Origins of Lenormand and Connection to Sibylline Tradition. The idea of this video came about because as I launched this YouTube channel, I realized that not a lot of people are familiar with Lenormand. The more traditional tarot card decks are more popular. So I thought I would give a foray into what is Lenormand. And in doing that, I was flipping through the book that goes with my favorite deck called The Mystical Lenormand. And I was reading the preface and the introduction, and I came across a page about Madame Marie-Anne Lenormand, and I was reading it, and there's a photo in the book. And underneath the photo, it has the Sibyl of Paris. And I thought, Sibyl? Okay, so flashback. It must have been a couple of years ago. I was really intrigued by the concept of Sibyls. And I went down that rabbit hole and I did a bunch of research to find out, okay, who were the Sibyls? What did they stand for in history? And I bought books and I read all about it. And I was thinking, wow, what a synchronicity if this card deck is somehow connected to the Sibyls. So I said this is an opportunity to provide some teachings on some lesser known concepts in history. And it's great that it's in connection with the purpose of my YouTube channel, which is to provide insights through the Lenormand card reading system. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to periodically offer a teaching series for topics that come about as a result of the readings that I think are intriguing or fascinating and that other people besides myself might want to learn more about. So the purpose of this video is twofold. First, I want to offer some background on the modern day Lenormand card reading system. It very much differs from tarot. Secondly, I'm guided, like I said, to share an intriguing discovery of how the Lenormand card reading concept is connected to ancient Sibylline tradition with roots in North Africa, specifically Egypt and Libya. So the first deck of Lenormand cards was called the Game of Hope. In German, that is Das Spiel der Hoffnung. It was created in 1799 by a Johann Caspar Hechtel. He was a German businessman and game designer. This deck was originally designed as a board game where players moved around a track according to card symbols and dice rolls. The game itself was pretty simple. Players would move across a board laid out in a grid with the cards representing different life events, places, or characters. And the purpose of the game was to offer players a fun way to think about life events and decisions. It wasn't until later that the deck became associated with Marie-Anne Lenormand. So who is Marie-Anne Lenormand? The modern day Lenormand deck was created in 18th century Europe and is named for her. She was a famous fortune teller that was commonly known as the Sibyl of Paris. And this was because of her accurate readings and that she was rumored to have advised figures like Napoleon Bonaparte and Empress Josephine, Napoleon's first wife. But she was originally from Normandy. And while she didn't create the Lenormand deck herself, her reputation led to the development of the cards that bear her name after she died. So, like I said, they referred to her as the Sibyl of Paris. So what is a Sibyl? This first photo here depicts the Agrippine Sibyl, who is sometimes represented as having African origins. I have a book entitled The Sibyl's Oraculum by Tiana Lee McQuiller. and I'm going to refer to that quite a bit. In the first chapter on A Brief History of the Sibyls, McQuillar points out the Latin word Sibyl comes from the Greek word Sibylla. The colloquial meaning, however, is prophetess. The word oracle comes from the Latin word orare, which means to speak. The Sibyls were women of the ancient world who were reputed to possess the powers of prophecy or divination. They would go into trance and speak the will of the deity of the temple. Marie-Anne Lenormand was therefore commonly referred to as a Sibyl, the Sibyl of Paris. Now, she was not an ancient Sibyl, obviously, given the time period that she came about, but her nickname, Sibyl of Paris, is inspired by Sibylline tradition. As you can see in this photo, there were as many as 12 Sibyls that have been identified throughout ancient history. This image depicts various ancient Sibyls, each associated with different regions of the ancient Mediterranean and Near East. These Sibyls were female prophets or oracles who were believed to possess the power of divination and to communicate messages from the divine. And here's a brief overview of some of them on this photo. We have the Sibylla Persica, that's the Persian Sibyl, who represents what is modern-day Iran and is often depicted as delivering prophecies of peace and messianic hope. There's Sibylla Libyca, that's the Libyan Sibyl. She originates from Libya in North Africa. She is often associated with the Oracle of Siwa and is believed to have prophesied about a king who would unite all people. Sibylla Delphica, the Delphic Sibyl, comes from Delphi in Greece, one of the most famous oracles. She's known for her prophecies related to divine mysteries and purification. Sibylla Phrygia, the Phrygian Sibyl, comes from Phrygia in what is modern-day Turkey. She's associated with celestial signs and prophecies of a new era of peace. Though we only see sparse or superficial representations of the Sibyls today, if at all, they wielded a tremendous amount of power and influence throughout the ancient world. The Sibyls were consulted by the aristocracy prior to all major undertakings and provided comfort and spiritual guidance for all who sought them. After centuries of uninterrupted power, the Sibyls, temples, and mystery schools were all outlawed with the advent of Nicene Christianity. This is a photo of McQuillar's book that is accompanied with an oracle deck called the Oracle of the Black Doves of Africa. In this book, McQuillar further explores the ancient roots of the Sibyls, particularly focusing on the Libyan prophetesses, who were considered powerful oracles in the classical world. She explains the Sibyls were highly regarded for their ability to convey divine messages and interpret omens. Their influence extended across cultures, with some of the earliest oracles originating in North Africa, notably the Siwa Oasis in Libya. This location, steeped in mysticism, was associated with the worship of the Egyptian goddess Wajet, and was thought to have inspired oracles in Greece, such as Dodona. McQuillar emphasizes the significance of the African heritage in the Sibylline tradition, challenging the more Eurocentric narratives often found in historical accounts. She presents the Sibyls as a bridge between various cultures, where African, Greek, and Roman spiritual practices intertwined. The Sibyls held a revered place in society, offering guidance to people from all social strata, and their prophecies often influenced political and personal decisions. In her book, as McQuillar explores the ancient origins of the Sibyls and focuses on the Libyan prophetesses, she points out that they were known as the Black Doves, who served as powerful oracles across the classical world. In the ancient Mediterranean world, the dove was a symbol of the soul, the great mother goddess of innumerable names and her priestesses. As the story goes, according to the Greek historian Herodotus, Two black doves, were they dark-skinned women, flew away from the city of Thebes in Kemet, that's ancient Egypt, one to Dodona and one to Libya, and established oracular shrines. The black doves were not only influential in their native Libya, but were deeply connected to Egyptian spirituality as well, particularly at the Siwa Oasis, a sacred site dedicated to the goddess Wajet. This Egyptian goddess, symbolized by the serpent, was considered a protector and guide, linking the oracle practices of Libya to those in Egypt. As an aside, while none of the original Sibyl oracular shrines are actively used today in their original form, the ruins of some of these ancient sites still exist and can be visited. The most famous oracular shrines of the Sibyls, like the Oracle of Delphi in Greece and the cave of the Cumaean Sibyl in Italy, are significant historical and archaeological sites. Oracle of Delphi, located in Mount Parnassus, the temple of Apollo at Delphi, was home to the Pythia, a priestess who was often associated with the Sibyl and served as an oracle. Though it is not an active shrine today, the ruins remain a popular tourist destination and an important historical site. The cave of the Cumaean Sibyl is located near Naples, Italy, in Cumaea. The entrance to this cave is still intact, and visitors can explore its chambers. The Cumaean Sibyl was one of the most famous of the Sibyls, and this site was once an active place of prophecy. These sites, while no longer functioning oracular centers, serve as fascinating historical landmarks where people can connect with the ancient traditions of prophecy. This is a sculpture titled The Libyan Sibyl, created by American sculptor William Wetmore Story. It is part of the collection at the Smithsonian American Art Museum in Washington, D.C. It portrays the Libyan Sibyl as one of the legendary prophetic priestesses of ancient mythology. In classical tradition, the Libyan Sibyl is associated with North Africa, specifically Libya, and was believed to have prophetic powers, often delivering messages about the fate of nations and peoples. Story sculpted this piece during the mid-19th century, and it reflects the cultural and political climate of that era. To honor the Black Dove's legacy, Maquiller developed an oracle deck that invites seekers to engage with an ancient heritage that respects ancestral wisdom and emphasizes the interconnectedness of African and Mediterranean spirituality. This oracle of the Black Doves, pictured here, is a system of divination inspired by the Libyan Sibyls, the African prophetesses of the classical world. Tayana Lee Maquiller is a cultural anthropologist and scholar of religion, esoterica, and mysticism. Her book and oracle deck, called Sibyl's Oraculum, Oracle of the Black Doves of Africa, is available on www.destinybooks.com. So, in making the connection between the modern-day Lenormand decks and this ancient history of the Sibyls, Marie-Anne Lenormand, well known as the Sibyl of Paris, was obviously not an ancient Sibyl given the time period of her existence, but her nickname was clearly inspired by this rich ancient Sibylline history and tradition that I just covered. There is a fascinating connection between Lenormand's legacy and the ancient tradition of the Sibyls. The title Sibyl traditionally refers to prophetesses from ancient times, known for their ability to channel divine messages and offer guidance. Lenormand's status as a modern Sibyl suggests that her role as a seer in Paris was a continuation of an ancient cross-cultural tradition of female oracular figures offering guidance to society. Moreover, the connection to the African and Mediterranean roots of the Sibyls allows for a richer understanding of how divinatory practices like Lenormand's were shaped by diverse cultural influences. This connection, which I feel is a timely and amazing discovery, I was guided to share with you as a part of an ongoing teaching series here on my YouTube channel, The Violet Flame Intuitive. We will cover intriguing topics as they arise. So now to the modern day Lenormand card decks. My favorite Lenormand deck is this one, the Mystical Lenormand. The Mystical Lenormand deck is a modern take on the classic Lenormand card system. Named for Marie-Anne Lenormand, a famous 18th century French fortune teller, the deck pays homage to her legacy and the traditional 36 card system that she popularized. Lenormand was a prominent figure in her time, reputedly reading for high-profile clients, like I said, Napoleon and his wife, Empress Josephine. The Mystical Lenormand deck specifically was developed by a regular Elizabeth Feicher, a Swiss astrologer and intuitive who sought to bring a fresh mystical interpretation to the Lenormand system. Feicher collaborated with the German artist Urban Trosch, whose unique artistic style greatly influenced the deck's aesthetic. The Mystical Lenormand deck has a whimsical and medieval feel. Each card is adorned with intricate details, vivid colors, and symbolic imagery that connects with themes from nature, folklore, and esoteric. The images are clear and simple, yet deeply evocative, inviting readers to dive into the cards' meanings and interpret them intuitively. It appeals to readers who appreciate both the historical roots of the Lenormand system, like myself, and a more modern magical twist. So that's what I have for you today, guys, on the history of Lenormand up to now. I hope you have enjoyed learning all about it. Till next time, peace be with you. Ashe.